There is a city in England where the call to prayer echoes through Muslim neighborhoods every single day. A city where halal restaurants, butcher shops, and food markets are not the exception. They are simply part of everyday life. A city where more than 1 in 5 people is Muslim, and where Islam has quietly become one of the most visible and vibrant parts of British urban life. That city is Leicester, and most people outside Britain have never heard its story. How did an ordinary English city become one of the most remarkable Muslim communities in the Western world? That is what we are going to find out today. You are watching Hidden Ummah. Leicester sits in the heart of England, in the East Midlands, one of Britain's most historically significant regions. It is an ancient city, with roots stretching back to Roman times. Today, its population is approximately 370,000 people, and according to the 2021 United Kingdom census, Muslims make up around 21% of Leicester's population, making Islam one of the defining features of this city's identity. Leicester is also one of the most ethnically and religiously diverse cities in the entire United Kingdom. Its Muslim community is primarily South Asian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, and Indian Muslim families who have been building their lives here for generations. But to understand where they are today, you have to understand how they got here. Walk through Leicester and the city tells its own story. Victorian red brick buildings line streets where South Asian shop signs hang in Urdu and Gujarati. The Golden Mile, a stretch of road famous across Britain, is lined with Pakistani and Indian restaurants, sweet shops, jewelry stores, and fabric merchants. The smell of spices drifts out of halal grocers onto pavements where schoolchildren in British uniforms walk past elderly men in shalwar kameez sharing tea outside a cafe. Belgrave Road is the heartbeat of Leicester's South Asian community, a place where you can buy a sari, eat a biryani, find a gold wedding set, and hear 3 different languages in the space of 5 minutes. And Leicester Market, one of the largest outdoor markets in Europe, sits at the center of a city that has been trading and mixing cultures for centuries. This is not a Muslim city. It is a British city with a Muslim soul. Now, here is something that surprises almost everyone. Did you know that Leicester became one of Britain's first major cities where no single ethnic group represents the majority, and that Muslims became a central part of how that happened? To understand that, you have to go back. They did not only come looking for work, they came to build a new life. In the years after the Second World War, Britain needed workers. Factories, hospitals, public transport. The country was rebuilding, and it needed people. Pakistanis and Bangladeshis arrived in Leicester through the 1950s and 60s, taking jobs in textiles and manufacturing, settling into terraced houses and slowly, carefully planting the seeds of a community. Then came 1972, Idi Amin expelled the Asian community from Uganda, giving them 90 days to leave a country many had called home for generations. Thousands of Ugandan Asians arrived in Britain. Some were Hindu, some were Sikh, some were Muslim. Many came to Leicester, drawn by existing South Asian networks and the possibility of a fresh start. Leicester's City Council at the time actually took out a newspaper advertisement asking people not to come. The city, they said, was full. The community came anyway, and they built something extraordinary. Mosques began to appear. Halal butchers opened on street corners. Islamic schools were established. Community organizations were formed. Slowly, a generation of people who had arrived with almost nothing created institutions, businesses, and a way of life that would shape this city for decades to come. Think of a grandfather who arrived in Leicester in 1963 with a single suitcase and the address of a distant relative written on a piece of paper. He found work in a textile factory. He saved money. He sent for his family. He helped establish one of Leicester's earliest mosques, a converted terraced house where men would gather on Fridays, shoulder to shoulder, in rooms that smelled of engine oil and prayer. His children grew up British. They went to Leicester schools. They spoke English with Midlands accents. They watched English football and ate fish and chips. And they also fasted in Ramadan memorized Quran, and married according to Islamic tradition. His grandchildren are university graduates, doctors, teachers, entrepreneurs, politicians. They scroll through social media, follow British pop culture, and navigate modern British life with confidence. And on Friday afternoons, they leave their offices and universities and walk to the mosque, just as their grandfather did 60 years ago. 3 generations, 1 city, 1 faith carried forward. Today, Leicester has more than 60 mosques. On Fridays, the streets around them fill with worshippers. Men in suits walking alongside men in traditional dress. Young people with backpacks next to elderly men with white beards. Inside, the rows stretch back as far as you can see. Halal is not a niche here. It is the norm. Halal butchers, supermarkets, fast food restaurants, and fine dining establishments serve a community that expects and gets food that meets Islamic standards. Walk down certain streets on a weekday morning, and you could be forgiven for thinking you were somewhere in South Asia until a red double-decker bus passes and reminds you exactly where you are. Mosques in Leicester are not simply places of prayer. They are community centers. They run food banks. They offer language classes. They provide marriage counseling, youth programs, and spaces where elderly men who came from Pakistan 50 years ago still gather to drink tea and remember home. Ramadan in Leicester is something to witness. As the sun begins to set, the Golden Mile comes alive. Halal restaurants fill up for iftar. Families arrive with children dressed in their best clothes. Mosques open their doors for communal breaking of the fast. Strangers, sitting side by side, dates and water on the table, the adhan sounding, and then a collective exhale as the fast ends. Later, the streets fill again for Tarawih, the long night prayers that mark Ramadan evenings. Young men who spent their days in offices and lecture all stand in rows until late at night, reciting Quran in the language their grandparents grew up speaking, and they chose to learn. Eid in Leicester is one of the largest celebrations in the United Kingdom. Tens of thousands of people gather for Eid prayers in parks and open spaces when mosques cannot hold the crowds. New clothes, family visits, food everywhere, and a feeling that this city, this very English city, is celebrating something deeply, genuinely its own. And here is something that matters. Leicester is not only a Muslim city, it is a city of many faiths living in close proximity. And that proximity has shaped everyone. Belgrave Road hosts one of the largest Diwali celebrations outside of India. Muslim families attend. Sikh and Hindu neighbors come to mosque open days. Churches, mosques, gurdwaras, and temples exist within streets of each other. People share schools, workplaces, neighborhoods, and often friendships. Is it always perfect? No, every diverse city has tensions. Every community has challenges. Leicester has had moments of difficulty and conflict. But what it has also had, consistently, is the capacity to come back together. Neighbors who disagree, but still share streets. Communities with different beliefs, who still depend on each other. But perhaps the most important question now is this. What about the next generation? The grandchildren of those first. Arrivals have grown up as British, as anyone in this country. They have British accents, British educations, British careers. And yet, walk into a mosque in Leicester on a Friday and you will find them there. Sit in a halakha, an Islamic study circle, and you will find young people who chose, in the middle of modern British life, to go deeper into their faith rather than away from it. Leicester's streets may already be answering the question. They came with suitcases and addresses written on scraps of paper. Their children built mosques and businesses and community organizations. Their grandchildren walk those same streets as doctors, teachers, politicians, and professionals, carrying their Islamic identity, not as a burden but as something they chose, something they are proud of. An English high street, a mosque, a minaret, a young British Muslim family walking home after Friday prayers. Somewhere in that image a new identity was born. Not Muslim instead of British. Not British instead of Muslim, both together at home. What other unexpected Muslim community should Hidden Ummah explore next? Leave a comment below and subscribe. Because the stories that matter most are almost always the ones nobody's telling.